Hello there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. Are you sad it's September already? Well, we are going to help you celebrate the last days of summer. This is Our Vancouver. Jamila Pomeroy explores how to reduce the environmental impact of the clothes you wear. Expand your noodle options at Fat Mao's new downtown spot. But first, a Salish artist's approach to public art. Now, whether it's the lit aluminum column at Park Royal or the cedar poles at the Vancouver School Board's head office, or even a mural on the side of the Bentall Centre, you have likely seen the stunning visual work of our next guest, and he hopes that you're going to see even more of it in the years to come. James Harry is an artist from the Squamish Nation, and James, we're so happy that you're able to join us today.
Oh, well, thank you for the invitation.
Okay, so I'd love to get a little bit of an insight into your approach to Salish art today.
Yeah, well, I guess it really all kind of stems from like growing up and mentoring under my dad, Hualacton Rick Harry. I've been carving since I was 5 years old, and he's brought me around the world. Like, we've been involved in numerous public art projects, both in North America and the UK, and so I've really had the privilege growing up being able to see his career kind of expand. And so, I went to Emily Carr kind of after high school and started to kind of try and learn to take my own kind of direction on my work. So I received more of a formal training from that institution, but like more of a mentorship from my dad's side.
Well, no kidding. You inherited that as well and got to work with him as well on many projects. So tell me about the poles at the Vancouver School Board there in that park. They're beautiful. What was that like working with him, carving those beautiful, beautiful images?
Yeah, well, that was a project that I really I felt would have been a legacy project for my father and I to work on. Mm-hmm. Just mainly because he's been involved in the school system like his whole life, and he's really done an amazing job at transforming people's perspectives around Salish art. Salish art specifically, because we haven't really had as much work into the public eye. So I thought that this would be an amazing opportunity to work and collaborate with my dad in this sort of mentorship role, where we created a piece for the Vancouver School Board. It would serve for generations to come for young people wanting to understand the land of Indigenous people that live here and the relationship that they will have with the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. So I felt that, it was just like a really legacy-building project.
Well, you make an interesting point about Salish art not necessarily being at the forefront of Indigenous art in the past 100 years. What was going on there?
Well, yeah, there was a number of reasons why that we didn't see as much Salish artwork historically. A lot of our artwork was actually burned in ceremonial fires, and so there wasn't actually as much historical evidence of Salish art. But also, it was like we considered ourselves like more of a sacred society where we didn't talk outside of certain circles. So you wouldn't actually pick up on a lot of those histories. So, there was that, but also when more Salish artists, like speaking more in recent history, that we didn't have as much art in galleries, mainly because galleries didn't actually want to buy Salish art. And, it was like more kind of in my dad's generation where it started to transform and change, where we started to recognize that. And now I'm sort of the next generation taking on that role.
Okay, so in taking on that role then, again, your formation from Hualactum, from your father, going to Emily Carr yourself and finding your own voice, your own way of representing the Salish culture in public art. What do you look for? What speaks to you?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I've always been curious about like how our art forms came to be, and I've asked elders where they thought that the forms came from, but nobody ever could really give me like a solid answer. So I always just felt like this sort of this sense to explore these sort of abstract forms that are rooted in Salish art that sort of mimic the landscape itself. Like when I was studying water or like how fire moves, I noticed a lot of like similar shapes that would have been seen in Salish art. So I started to kind of like delve more into that. And so that's sort of what my art kind of represents now, is that it's like these forms that are embodied and come out of the land. And because like Indigenous people, we were observers of nature, we were part of nature, we never thought of ourselves as separate from nature. We were just interconnected. And so I really look at these pieces as being part of that. Like these pieces are coming out of the land, and that's just me being sort of the vessel for that sort of conversation happening.
There's no doubt that your images are powerful. They really have an impact when you see them. But can you tell us a little bit about the T-shirt that you designed for Arts Umbrella?
Yeah, so I designed this T-shirt for Arts Umbrella thinking about like coming through this Indigenous perspective. I've represented all these different types of hands coming from different animals, from like the eagle's talon to the bear's paw to the human's hand. And I really wanted that to be the conversation piece for this shirt because, you know, we come from, like, going back to that idea that we come from the land and we never thought of ourselves as separate from the land or the animals. So it's really trying to keep that conversation going about how we're all interconnected. And that's sort of what this design represents in some of the more spiritual representation of hands and some more of the literal sense. And that's what I wanted to represent in the shirt.
Beautiful. And what would you like to see in the future when it comes to the representation and interpretation of Salish art here?
I would love to see more representation of it around our city, whether it's new developments that are going up. They invest more opportunities into those types of works because we're at a really imperative time right now where that Indigenous people, Salish people can start to voice who they are so we don't feel invisible on our land anymore.
James, Harry, what a pleasure to meet you. And we look forward to more great things. Keep being creative and keep it coming.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy, and you're watching Our Vancouver.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite features. This is where we get to showcase a number of the photographs sent in by you, our audience. So thank you in advance. First up with this one, Renee Warren captured this view of Howe Sound looking south from the Jurassic Ridge Trail near Squamish. That is just gorgeous. Bikram Rijal snapped this sunset at Barnett Marine Park in Burnaby. That is so serene. And finally, Lisa Brome shared this image of Onion Island. That's just off the coast of Bowen Island. Just love the colors there. Thank you very much. And do send us more. It's pretty easy. Just select your favorite photographs and send them by email, bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. And coming up, new images from the James Webb Space Telescope. They keep expanding our understanding of the universe. And now it's spurred fresh hope for life on another planet.
The James Webb Space Telescope, NASA's most expensive and powerful telescope to date, was launched December 25th. But ever since those first images were shared, it has continued to delight and surprise scientists with discoveries. And I want to share with you some of my favorite discoveries in the past few months, starting with the discovery of the first surefire bet of a CO2 signature on an exoplanet. And scientists were very excited to see this image. Yes, well, not as exciting as the other images we've seen from the James Webb Space Telescope. This one shows that spike in CO2 as the telescope peered into the planet's atmosphere as it passed its front of its own sun. Why do we care so much about CO2? It's what we call a biosignature. A mixture of CO2 and methane is what we expect to find on a planet that hosts life. Now, this exoplanet, nicknamed Hot Jupiter, is perhaps a little too close to its sun to host life as we know it, but it's got scientists excited that we now know we can detect that biosignature I also love this image of the telescope peering into what's called the Cartwheel Galaxy. Look at this, new details about the star formation and the galaxy's central black hole, the chaos of what scientists think are two separate galaxies, a spiral galaxy like our own and another galaxy colliding to create this unusual shape. Okay, and possibly in the creepiest discovery, not quite in time for Halloween, take a look at this image of a giant space tarantula, literally caught by a web. The James Webb Space Telescope found this cloud galaxy 161,000 light years away. Is nicknamed the Tarantula Nebula because it does look like a tarantula hiding in its silk home. It's one of the most massive stars known to astronomers, and we now have science for days and days at a level of detail never seen before. Imagine this is all just months after those first images were released to the world. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what the James Webb Space Telescope uncovers next. And now you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet or email and I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thank you very much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, as summer gives way to fall, a new noodle shop is serving up dishes for both seasons. Fat Mao is expanding downtown with some exclusive dishes. And you may recognize Angus An from Meinam restaurant. He's also chef and owner at Fat Mao. Angus, hello and welcome back.
Hello, thank you. It's good to be back.
You have been, well, okay, we were talking about Meinam last time. Now it's Fat Mao. Why don't we start with the name? Why Fat Mao?
Well, fat sort of runs in the same sound as prosperous, so it's a prosperous cat. We had a story all made up with this lucky cat that was a stray cat that learned how to make noodles in Chinatown, and we had a whole comic draw of it for our menu, so that's sort of the background of the name.
Okay, that's the background of the name. And what did you want to do with this particular menu?
Well, in this concept in particular, I've always been fascinated by the smaller eateries in Southeast Asia. If you're good at something, keep the menu small, and that's all you do. And that's what we wanted to keep focus on in the first Fat Mao as well as the second Fat Mao was just soup noodles, Thai soup noodles that we do really well.
Okay, so where do you start? You even brought your own stove in here.
So I'm going to show you quickly how we're going to do our most popular dish, which is the khao soi chicken.
Okay.
It's a dish from Chiang Mai region. It's a Burmese-influenced curry noodle soup. So all we got to do is I already have the chicken braised in our curry sauce. We're just going to quickly dunk the noodles into hot water.
Okay. Are these special noodles? Are these anyone?
These are wonton noodles.
Store-bought wonton noodles. Okay.
So we're just going to give that about 30 seconds. I mean, this is one of the most popular dishes on the menu, and for the Chinatown as well as downtown. And right now for downtown, we have two specific new items that will be just for the new location, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay. Get the bowl. Okay, that's not even a minute. Not even a minute in there. Just went.
They're all fresh noodles made for us, so they don't need much time. So I want to make sure we get this going.
Okay, well, this is a perfect dish, though, as we get into a little bit cooler weather, right? Do you find that people they want soup when the temperature goes down a little bit?
Oh, for sure. Like, of all my restaurants, and this is no joke, I tell people all the time, of all the restaurants I have, I eat at Fat Mao the most. Okay. 2 times a week I go there.
Okay.
And it's just, I crave that kind of food. I crave the comfort food. And, soup noodles is what I grew up eating. And it's very comforting and it's already warm. So we're just going to carefully not to splash curry on you. So this is one of the most delicious noodle soups. And it's...
You need, I don't know, do you eat this with chopsticks, with a fork and knife, or what do you do? I mean, you got to get the chicken
all
off
the
the
above.
bone.
And I'm not done yet because we have all the garnishes, and this is crispy egg noodles as well.
So sprouts, that's just it. You've got
bean sprouts, some green onions, some cilantro, and crispy noodles. So when you eat it, you break it in, so you contrast with both fresh.
How do you make the crispy noodles? You put them in the oven for a bit?
They're fried.
Fried noodles.
And then this is pickled mustard greens.
Oh my goodness.
And that's the delicious khao soi.
That is gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. So tell me about the new downtown location. What's going to be different
The new downtown
about
location is the Sheraton Wall Center, and we love it because we're right underneath the Thai Consulate General, which the whole entire office loves us because they come to Fat Mao for the most authentic noodles, and then we have 2 specific items just for that location, which is the Nam Nio, which is also from Chiang Mai region.
Okay, let's look at this. So let's look at these two. They look similar. This one has a more intense red.
It's not spicy despite the red color. That's from the tomatoes.
Okay.
It's a tomato-based broth with pork rib, pork blood, and it's a lighter broth, but it's really, really rich in flavor. I almost feel like it's a rustic flavor. It's really, really nice.
Okay, I want it. Which one shall I try
Why don't you
first?
try this one first, the soup,
Okay,
and then you can get, this one's a bit richer, so you can try that after. It's got a nice kind of rustic sweetness to it, right?
Oh, that is gorgeous.
That's my new favorite.
And I'm getting the tomato. It's not as common to have the tomato base, is it? Is it?
You can do it
Can I
without
try?
the tomato, you can do the tomato, but we like the tomato add certain depth to the soup.
Okay, now I know the team is going to want to be digging in there, so I'm not
There's
going to
new
double
spoons.
dip. I'm not going to double dip. I'm going to try this one now.
And this is the khao
So this
soi.
is the curry.
Yep. Curry noodle. It's a Burmese influence, and it's also very typical of Chiang Mai.
These are gorgeous, Angus. Like
Thank
they're
you, thank you.
absolutely gorgeous, and I love the idea of the crunch, the different textures that you're going to get as well. So this is not something you have to add extra sauces to either. You've already
it's
got a little bit
pretty
of
much
punch. Everything is all included in there. This is very exciting. So downtown location opens.
Opens now.
Okay.
It's 5 days a week, but starting next week, we'll go 6 days, close only Sundays, starting next week.
Are you really feeling things ramp up downtown now? People coming back to the office, back to work.
We didn't even tell anyone we opened last week. It's a soft opening, and we've been slammed busy because people are just walking by it. So I'm pretty excited to be downtown, and I think it's a good location for us to open Fat Mao.
No kidding. Tell me about this.
It's my version of a tuna ceviche with blend. It's a sauce of green onions and cilantro, lots of lime. You get a little bit with the here.
Okay, you want to load me up here? This is a taro chip.
Taro chip, that's right. Here, load you up.
Doesn't that look fresh and lovely? I
Yeah,
think I'm gonna wait for the crunch at the end here. But why don't you take me through some of these other dishes? What else have you brought?
This is a mapo tofu. It's sort of my version of something my mom used to make. We steam the tofu in this tin here, so it's like a custard instead of just using regular tofu. And then we basically pour a nice mapo sauce over it. I almost call it sort of like a Chinese bolognese over it. And then you basically scoop it with tofu underneath. And this over here is our new beef noodle for the downtown location. It's a Thai Chinese influence braised brisket, super rich soy sauce.
I have to dip in here too.
Yeah, try it.
This is gorgeous. But do you use all different noodles in all of these different dishes?
So on the menu, they basically come with the recommended noodle, but we do have a selection of noodles here.
Bring them
for
over and
to-
just explain, because I mean, it can be a little bit bewildering sometimes when you're when you're shopping
So when
for this type
you're
of thing.
when you're in Thailand in a noodle shop, you get to choose what noodles you like. So this is the small rice noodles, which is the senlik. It's a pho noodle.
Yes.
This is the egg noodle with the wonton noodle that we had in here.
Yes.
This is a Shanghai Y style noodle, which is really good in some of the soy-based sauces.
Beautiful.
And this is basically vermicelli, which is also really good in the hot and sours and the vermicellis. So, and the soy-based sauces.
Okay.
This is rice sheet. I love this one because it's a tapioca-based, gluten-free.
Okay.
And it's a thin sheet that you get to pull apart, and then when they cook it, they shrink together. So it has a real good texture, contrasted texture from soft to sort of this authentic texture.
A little bit of chewiness, a little bit of chewiness, a little bit of body as well. Now I have to, you put this, you load this up for
give
me.
that a try.
Okay, before I take my last bite here, how do you do it? You're not only spread, like you've got 2 Fat Mao locations, you've got Mae Nam, but you've got other restaurants too.
Yeah, we have Longtail in US, we have Sen Pad Thai, as well as Papina in Granville Island.
How do you do it?
You need a good team, and I'm fortunate enough to have a good team. I know a lot of people are struggling for staff. So are we, but we have a really strong staff. Our head chef at Mae Nam, Mike, he's been with us for 12 years. Our head chef at Fat Mao, she's helping us for both locations. She's been with us for 3 years as well. So we try to support our staff and bring them up with us so that we can do stuff like this.
Yeah, but do you find yourself in the middle of the night saying, I know, I've got another great idea?
Yeah, but lately I've been trying to hold back the ideas because
Okay. Good for you. And thank you so much for bringing in such beautiful food, beautiful looking and beautiful tasting. You do our city proud, Angus. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Find out on a little bit of crunch, okay? Beautiful. That is beautiful.
Hi, this is Matt, and this is Grit, and I'm Jen, and we're with Stanley Park Horse Drawn Tours, and you're watching our Vancouver.
It looks so perfect from the outside in, but you could tear down those walls, they were paper thin. If the weight's too heavy, let it break your heart. That's how you learn the art of falling apart.
If if you would like to go and catch some live music, catch Serena Ryder on her Art of Falling Apart tour with Desiree Dawson at the Clark Theatre in Mission on Wednesday, September 14th.
I got nobody to go to, so when I'm alone, I just write songs. Ain't looking for no type of handout, cause I got a world in my palms. I walk through the rain and I fight storms. See my path in the dark like my bright song. Taking risks wherever dice thrown. Never felt I belong in the way home. How you tell me you love me, but you just take from me. Tell me what you desire if you didn't make money. Steady chasing my dreams, they call it safe running. Every struggle I face, gotta keep my faith pumping.
Now, after 3 years off, the Breakout Festival is back, bringing a weekend of hip-hop to the Peony Amphitheatre, September 17th and 18th. Along with big American acts like Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Baby, make sure you go on Sunday to hear Winnipeg's own Wyson Fab.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music here with big news for the fall season. The Canadian Music Class Challenge is back for 2022. That's right, it's happening. That's when we challenge music teachers and students across the country to learn a Canadian song from our list, make a video of the performance, and send it in to us for a chance to win thousands of dollars of prizes. Here is a winning entry from last year. Yeah, that's Mother Mother's hit, I Got Love, as performed by the kids at Austin O'Brien High in Edmonton. They won first place for their age category, $3,000 of new musical instruments, and a framed plaque for the trophy case. We just announced our list of songs that music classes can learn this year, and they include some of these.
Cause I never heard a song sung quite like Elvis. Not much beats the sound of the pouring rain. And there's something in your kiss leaves me so helpless. You leave me breathless.
Those are just 3 of the more than 20 different Canadian tunes that music teachers and students can choose from to learn and perform for this year's Canadian Music Class Challenge. We have children's songs, traditional tunes, classic rock, pop, French language, and this. Yes, that is Manitoba musician Burnstick with his song Nikamo. This year, we're challenging students to learn and perform that song in Cree as part of our continuing initiative to encourage music classes from across the country to learn Indigenous languages through song. One of our prizes this year will be awarded to the best performance of that song, plus more surprises to come. For all of the details on this year's Canadian Music Class Challenge and how to register your class right now, head to cbc.ca/musicclass. Video submissions begin in October. Our winners will be announced at the end of the year. I'm Grant Lawrence. Keep Canadian music classes alive, and I'll check in with you again soon.
How can we make fashion last, not just fast? Jamila Pomeroy is going to be here to explore that on A Happier Planet. Hello and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, every year, the average Canadian throws away 81 pounds of textile waste. 81 pounds. So this week on A Happier Planet, Jamila Pomeroy explores efforts to reduce the fashion industry's environmental impact.
Hi, my name is Jamila Pomeroy. I am a writer, model, actor, and filmmaker based in Vancouver, BC. I've been passionate about the environment my whole life, and I'm especially interested in making sustainability more accessible and a little bit more fun. I want to show you that sustainability is an opportunity for us to get creative and innovative, all in the name of leaving the planet better than how we found it. Being kinder to the environment isn't something that only impacts the world on a larger scale. It also means that we can strengthen our communities, support local businesses, and learn more about each other. There are so many things wrong with the fashion industry, like pollution, water consumption, human rights issues, and there's a lot of textile waste. The average Canadian throws away 81 pounds of textile waste each year. Reducing this waste is one of the most effective ways we can lower our environmental footprint. For some, it may look like purchasing new clothes from sustainable brands, whereas for others, it may look like thrifting, mending clothes, or choosing garments that are timeless. For me, it's shopping for pre-loved clothing at my favorite consignment store. Let's check it out. I could shop in here all day, but to learn about things from a brand perspective, I spoke to designer Kirsten Lay. Kirsten has made a name for herself in sustainable fashion, walking runways in Paris, New York, and Tokyo.
The consumer now is educated and very intelligent. I think the consumers are the ones that are making the industry change, which is amazing because normally, the industry would tell the consumers what they want, they would go and buy, but I like that the social consciousness of the world right now is shifting and changing, especially with the newer generations.
So obviously you start with a sketch or, kind of like an idea of how you want something to look, but is this basically the next step, picking out fabric?
I usually start with just like a very rough sketch.
Right.
And then I'll work from there, I'll make my technical flat from there, and that's what I send to production. The fabric decision process is amazing and exciting because every couple of years there's like a new product, a new material that is sustainable. I didn't think I would have an option to create a waterproof jacket because I thought all materials that will be waterproof, that would be polyester, are not going to be sustainable and I won't be able to use them. And so I just recently discovered this recycled polyester that is waterproof.
So cool.
So that's why I'm always trying to learn more and find different materials that are being created. And I think that's just really exciting to be at this place in time where this is a really important factor now in material production. There are some brands that are extremely trendy and really like to crank out exactly what's like the latest, and as quickly as it comes in to public attention, it'll kind of burn out and fizzle out. I think we just really need to be careful about creating designs that, if we don't want them to be discarded, maybe not go so crazy into that trend. I tend to focus more on classic staple pieces that, yes, they are trendy, they are avant-garde, they are fashionable, but it's something that you can wear still in 10 years. I want my clothing to have a second life, a third life, a fourth life, and maybe be passed down through generations, or for someone to find it in a boutique and for it to be worn again.
I think the biggest thing that I love about shopping for used clothing is just the adventure. I have a pretty specific list of things that I look for when I am thrifting or shopping for pre-loved items. I generally don't look at the tag. Like, I don't really care what the brand is. I'm more so concerned with like looking at the seams, seeing how the inside of the garment is intact. I personally like to stick with natural fibers and natural fabrics just because I find you generally get more wear out of them. I also generally try to stick with things that I think are timeless, and I stay away from super trends just because you don't know how long you'll be able to wear that. Is it gonna still be in style in a couple of years? So I try to go with, like classic dress lines, or, you can never go wrong with a great pair of jeans, or, a classic white tee. So whether you choose to purchase new clothing from a sustainable designer, pre-loved clothing from a consignment store or thrift store, or you choose timeless classics that'll last you for years to come, you have the power to lower your environmental footprint with what you wear.
Hi, my name's Sam. This is our Vancouver.
Joanne Sung started doing stand-up comedy during the COVID pandemic, and that meant performing to online audiences. Well, now clubs are open again, and I spoke to her about getting laughs on stage for our afternoon radio show on the coast. How's your summer going?
It's going good. I went to France not too long ago for the first time. Got COVID there. That was not fun. But I'm back. I'm okay. And yeah, pastries are good. The pastries are good there.
What is it? It just everything is good over there. How do they've got it down.
Yeah.
They've really got it down.
I'm okay if I die eating pastries.
Me too. Me too. No, it's interesting, Joanne, because you were not a full-time comedian.
I was not.
Before that first public lockdown, right?
Correct.
So tell us about your journey into comedy and performing.
Oh my goodness. My therapist told me that I should do comedy, and I was like, should I pay you for this session? So I had a couple friends who ran comedy spaces at the time, and they recommended that I can try it out if I wanted to. And so I did, and it was lots of fun. And I just continued, even though it is horrifying to get up on stage in front of a live audience and tell your dirtiest, jokes and things you can't say at the dinner table. And it was lots of fun.
Things you can't say at the dinner table that you can say in a room full of strangers.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's the safety net, is that they don't know anything about you, so you can just say anything.
Okay, so what changed for you and your relationship with comedy, I guess, during the pandemic?
I want to say that in the beginning, it was difficult because everything kind of shut down and nothing was happening. There was no shows. There's not even any online shows, but I want to say fairly quickly, people started to go online, on TikTok, on Facebook Live, on Reels, and started hosting like Zoom comedy shows. And so I hopped onto some of those, and they were very fun. Of course, not at all the same. I remember one of the shows that we were on, the host said, if you're laughing, press 1 in the chat. And that was definitely, I did not receive that until after the end of my set, of course, because I'm not checking. And so it's difficult when the rhythm of your set is kind of thrown off because there's no laughter to be heard. And so you're also unsure if anything you said was funny or not. But I think that people caught on, and there was definitely lots of online shows and different kind of formats, and I think that definitely added to the change in the kind of shows that we're seeing today.
Well, what I really like to do is play a little bit from one of your recent performances.
Oh dear, here we are.
And it's clear here, and that's why we chose it. It's clear how the pandemic seeps into your work.
So for my birthday, I've decided to embrace this new identity that I've developed since COVID, and it's just messy, and I'm embracing it. So for my birthday, I asked for a gold chain for my dog. He has small dog energy, and he needs it. He hates other dogs. I asked for a pregnancy pillow for my back. And it will change your life. I'll send you the link. And I also asked for pepper spray. And a blowtorch because I love weed. But I asked for a pepper spray.
Okay, a gold chain for the dog.
Yes.
Pregnancy pillow, pepper spray, blowtorch. Just tell us more about this new personality that you're embracing here.
I mean, I turned 30, and I guess I'm 31 now. My goodness, Yeah, I was like, there's nothing like really owning up to who you really are. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of people, especially myself, found out I like comfort and staying at home. And as extroverted as I am, I want to say that the back issues is real. And the blowtorch, I also found, because we couldn't go to restaurants, I wanted to do more cooking, and I have been doing more cooking. Creme brulee I've started to make, so I need a blowtorch, and I realized that's also very handy for cannabis activity.
Yes.
So yeah, and the pregnancy pillow, honestly, I swear by it. It is one of the best purchases I have ever made. It's quite, for both pregnant and non-pregnant people, please get a pregnancy pillow.
Oh, those really long ones?
Yeah,
that
they're
you
like
kind
a
of
little U shape, and then
Right.
you just hold, and it tucks everything in that needs to be tucked, and then you just fall asleep like you're being held up by this pillow. It's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've all experienced COVID in different ways, right?
100%.
And like you're saying, you're
Yeah.
going into kind of comfort, cooking, those kinds of things. When you're putting together material for your performances, how do you balance, I guess, just how much people want to hear about COVID-related issues and how much people may just want a comedic escape from it all?
For sure. I mean, I think that the funny thing about COVID is that everyone's lives were changed, for sure. And the jokes that are now written, I think that there's a fine balance, because you never know how it's going to land. You know how the jokes about COVID or how your experience was during COVID. For me, I fell in love during COVID, and I was like, oh, nobody wants to hear about me being in a relationship. Everybody wants to hear about that.
Coming up, easing the challenges that students face when they're the first in their family to go to university. Hello, you are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, being the first in your family to go to university, that can be challenging. But a club at UBC is working to change that. As Beneat Braich reports, students say the program is helping overcome vast and unfamiliar obstacles for first-generation students.
During Zara Fossil's first university orientation at UBC, she had to turn to Google for help.
I didn't know what credits were, I didn't know what a faculty was.
Fossil is the first person in her family to attend university, and with that, a scholarship.
So I was a low-income student from Tanzania. I couldn't afford university within my home country.
But with her milestone came challenges.
Because of not knowing the system, I ended up in a very intensive program that I felt was not a match for me. And so throughout first year, I struggled academically a lot.
It's why Fossil took it upon herself to help people in similar situations. She founded the UBC First Generation Students Union. First Generation students are broadly defined as those who have not had immediate family members attend university.
They have unique challenges within the school systems that other students may not face.
And to help, peers offer students advice and emotional support in the club. Wilson, too, says by defining themselves as first-generation students, they better understand one another.
We can share some of the strategies that we've used to, overcome some of the obstacles that are faced by all of us. Yeah.
Experts say first-generation students have a harder time getting into university.
If you have at least one university-educated parent, your chances of going to university go through the roof.
And those students are at greater risk of dropping out.
I would hear a lot from them would be, I just don't know if I'm university material. What if I don't belong here? What if this is not the right choice?
And that's why clubs like this have become so important, as a space to overcome barriers and for first-generation students to draw strength from one another. Beneat Braich, CBC News, Vancouver.
Patrick, and this is our Vancouver.
You know, this year, young chefs from across North America came to Vancouver for the 14th annual Chinese Restaurant Awards, and that includes Eva Chin from Aveling in Toronto and Lucas Sin from Junzi Kitchen in New York. And I had a fascinating conversation with them for our afternoon radio show on the coast. How would you describe the Chinese food scene here?
I mean, having been in New York, like very many other people, you think that New York has the best dining scene in the world, and you think that New York's Chinese food is therefore the best. But I've had a I've had a revelatory experience in Vancouver. The Chinese community here is stunning. The level of technique is outstanding, and the ingredients are really, really, really outstanding.
Revelatory. Love to hear that as well. Now, Eva, you used to cook here, right?
Yes.
You used to. So where